We are discussing these relationships in the workplace, and joining me on phone from the UK is Dr. Chris Hart, a psychologist specialized in social skills. Dr. Chris is also a writer and columnist in the local dailies. So, Dr. Chris, what are your thoughts on the general implications of workplace relationships?
The world's changing a little bit at the moment. It was the case until the last 2-3 years that workplace relationships were on the up. Lots of people were meeting their spouses at work. It was all working out well, but they're now declining. Some of it's the Me Too movement. Some of it's just that people are finding that they can meet more and better possible partners online. The online processes are working much better than they used to. One way or another, workplace relationships are losing out. And partly that's because people don't feel comfortable with them anymore. It's as if people have decided that workplace relationships are just too risky.
All right. Dr. Chris, do workplace relationships become more complicated when it involves police officers within the same ranks?
To be honest, I'm not familiar with this case. Lots of affairs degenerate into violence, that's for sure. And I mean, that's just the nature of these things. A lot of police officers have questionable behavior in such situations. But, to a first approximation, any relationship that's morally suspect is doubly suspect at work. Everybody imagines that they get away with these things at work. But in fact, people are very, very sensitive and they spot a relationship that's an affair, in other words, married people, or relationships where there's a big power difference, like somebody dating their boss. They are enormously unpopular. If you're involved in one of those relationships at work, then sooner or later it's really going to turn out badly because everybody hates them.
What are the international trends when it comes to workplace relationships? What are your observations on this?
As I said earlier, internationally, pretty much universally, workplace relationships are declining. People don't feel comfortable flirting at work in the way that they used to because they fear they'll be misinterpreted. And they're finding better alternatives. It's actually easier to meet someone online than it is to meet somebody in the office. I know that sounds a bit daft, but it's true. Because the online dating processes are working so much better than they used to. I mean, they used to be, frankly, they were mostly about hookups. But nowadays, people, when they meet someone online, they immediately start video chatting. And the relationship gets quite advanced before they ever meet, and that's making people much more trusting. And I think people like that. So the biggest loser in that is the workplace relationship. They are declining quite quickly. I advise people to try everything. So I would say to particularly younger people, single people, I would say go online. But I would also say chat to anyone you meet at work, through the world at work. It doesn't necessarily have to be a colleague. It might be a supplier or a customer. And just make small talk. As a meeting comes to an end, just chat. And sometimes you'll discover that small talk will turn into something much better. And so you should try all the opportunities.